like a Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for another review in our wrestling game series, and today we're taking a look at WWF Steel Cage Challenge, which originally saw release on the NES in 1992 before coming out on the Master System over here in the PAL region in June of 1993. It also saw a Game Gear release as well. So once the main menu hits, you'll see you've got a choice of 1-player versus computer, 1- and 2-player versus a computer, and a 2-player versus mode as well. Once you make your selection, you'll see you've got one-on-one matches, you've got tag matches, you've got the WWF Championship mode and the WWF Tag Team Championship mode, and you can choose to do this as standard matches or in the confines of a steel cage. So like always, we're going to start with visuals first, and for me, WWF Wrestlemania Steel Cage Challenge on the Master System is the best looking 8-bit wrestling game ever made. In my eyes, it's much better looking than all the wrestling games that came out on the NES, and it's a lot better looking than Pro Wrestling that came out on the Master System quite a few years before it. All the characters look as close as they can to their real-life counterparts, although they're all the same size. So if you're Hulk Hogan, yes, you will be the same size as Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels. So it's not realistic in that respect, but I wouldn't expect it to be, because it was like that on the Mega Drive as well with games like WWF Super WrestleMania and WWF Royal Rumble and Raw. So you can't really criticize the game for that. The animations for the moves all look reasonably good. They're taken from the Mega Drive games, basically, and just sort of shrank down for the Master System. So in that regard, the game doesn't look too bad either. We've got fans in attendance either side of the ring, although there's nothing at the top, and that makes the arenas look quite barren in all fairness. We do get a little bit of variety because we've got cage matches, and we've also got tag matches, and the game performs relatively well until you get into a tag match when it's sort of halved in speed, and then it becomes pretty much unplayable. So I would avoid playing the tag team matches. But overall, for a 1993 8-bit wrestling game, I don't think you can complain too much with the way that Steel Cage Challenge looks. So moving on to the sound effects and music next, and unfortunately the game doesn't do very well in this regard because there are hardly any sound effects in the whole entire game. The matches are played out in silence with just the noises of your stomps and moves, and that is it. There is no music playing over the top, which means the matches have got this really quiet, barren feel to them with absolutely no atmosphere. Now, thankfully, the wrestlers do have versions of their theme musics when you select them or when you win a match, so I will just let you listen to a few of those so we can at least end this topic on a slightly higher note. So moving on to the gameplay next, and I always think when you've got a 2-button control pad, wrestling games are always going to be quite limited, and WWF Wrestlemania Steel Cage Challenge is no exception. Button 1 will punch and button 2 will kick. If you walk into your opponent, you will initiate a grapple, whereas if you spam button 1 in the grapple, you'll do a headbutt, and if you spam button 2, you will do a body slam, and these are your 2 primary offensive moves. That is it. There are no suplexes, backbreakers, or atomic drops like on Royal Rumble on the Mega Drive, and there are also no finishing moves. That is the biggest gripe for me gameplay-wise, that a wrestling game from 1993 doesn't have any finishing moves for the wrestlers whatsoever, and it means playing as every single wrestler is the same because they've all got the same moves. They can all do a stomp, an elbow drop, they can all hit the ropes and do a clothesline, and they can all go up to the top rope and jump off with a move from there. That's your lot. There isn't anything else, so it doesn't really have any depth in terms of gameplay, and sometimes characters can get stuck on the floor and you can just stand there stomping them over and over again, and so they've got no health left. So in terms of gameplay, WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge does not give you a fulfilling experience. So moving on to content and lifespan next, and in terms of actual content, I think the game performs quite well. We've got these cool introduction sequences where Howard Finkel introduces the wrestler before their matches and their music is playing in the background. I think that's quite good. It's something that wasn't on Royal Rumble, which came out on the SNES and Mega Drive at the same time. We've got 10 selectable wrestlers as well, which I feel for an 8-bit wrestling game is actually quite impressive, and I do think that's quite good. As well as that, we've got our single and tag matches, we can have cage matches, and we can have the WWF title mode and the tag team title mode, which I feel is quite a substantial amount of content for an 8-bit wrestling game. Of course, the downside in this regard is the fact that the wrestlers don't have many moves each. They're all exactly the same, and there are no finishing moves, and these factors will seriously hinder the lifespan of the game. Once I played through it once and completed it with one wrestler, I didn't feel the need to play through it again because there wasn't any different finishing moves to experience within the game. I feel that is the biggest thing which affects the lifespan. Of course, it's got 2-player mode, which is nice, especially for when it came out. You could have wrestled against your friends if you only had an 8-bit console, but in the grand scheme of things, the lifespan of the game is not particularly impressive. So like always, we've got a few questions to answer at the end. Is WWF Wrestlemania Steel Cage Challenge still worth playing today? Where does it feature in our wrestling game top 10 that is slowly growing? And does it feature in our Master System top 10? Well, I will tell you right now that I don't think this game is still worth playing. Yes, it's got a few modes of play. Yes, it's got 10 wrestlers, but the fact that they're all the same really means there's no incentive to play this game whatsoever. Where does it feature in our wrestling game top 10? Well, there's no surprise that it's the worst wrestling game we've looked at so far. So it comes in 4th place behind Warzone, behind WCW NWO Revenge, and behind WWF SmackDown. And the last question, does it feature in our Master System top 10? Unfortunately not. It just simply doesn't have enough in the gameplay department to get in there. But like always, these are just my thoughts and my thoughts alone. I didn't actually play this game when it originally came out. I didn't play it until many years later. And even if I'd have played it when it came out, I don't think I'd have been that impressed, in all honesty. But if your opinions differ, like always, let me know with a comment down below. And like always, I'll be back in the near future with another review. Goodbye for now.